Happy Monday. It is week 6 of our Homestead Homemaking Challenge. OMG, right? So it's week 6. I did not get a weekend cleanup done this weekend. We have just been so busy, and so I think I'm going to start combining my cleanups and my devotions into one day. So I'll do a quick devotion first thing on Mondays, and then afterwards you can see the cleanup from the previous week. But today is Devotional Monday, and I have really been thinking about something. I really feel like God's placed something on my heart to share with you. As you know, during this process, I told you guys from the beginning that this was not only going to be a physical process for me, but also a spiritual one. And it's turning out to be exactly that. God is really showing me some character flaws, some things that I just need to get in order. So I'm going to go over with you this week something that He's really been teaching me and showing me. And I'm going to start, as I have been starting, in Proverbs 31. Today's devotional video is about your husband trusting you. And I don't mean in a way like, in a faithful kind of way. You know, I don't mean like that. I mean your husband having full confidence in you that you are a caretaker of his family, and that you are a caretaker and you're to be trusted. Now, a lot of you might hear that and think, if he doesn't trust me, then I'm hitting the road, right? But that's just not true. I want to read a verse to you. Proverbs 31. I'm just going to start with verse 10 because that's where the wife of noble character begins. It says, "A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies." Verse 11 is what I really want you to pay attention to. It says, "Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. Verse 12 says, she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life." And so I think a lot of us can sit there and read that, and I think most of us, we don't want to like intentionally bring our husband harm, right? And I don't quite think that's what it's saying, that, you know, many women want to intentionally bring their husbands harm. But the fact that the wife of noble character begins with that, I think it has a lot to say about us as homemakers and wives of noble character. I want to take you over to Proverbs 14, and here's why. I feel like this verse and that verse really kind of play off of each other. Proverbs 14, verse 1 says, "The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down." A wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down. So that's back in Proverbs 14. And then you skip to Proverbs 31. And the very first thing that we lead off with for the wife of noble character is that she's worth far more than rubies, and that her husband has complete and total confidence in her and her ability to run their household, and her ability to tend and care for their family, for his family that he's providing for every day. He has full and total confidence in her. And then it goes into why he has full and total confidence with her. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for the task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. It's a big one. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. I know that a lot of us have read Proverbs 31, or we hear about it, or people have written books about Proverbs 31, right? But when you sit down and you break it down, let's break down the main verses. Her husband has full confidence in her. Why? Because in verse 25, she is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. In verse 26, she speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. And in verse 27, she watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. So I'm going to tell you a story. And I feel like when Jesus spoke in parables, I can kind of speak to you in a story too, because it helps you understand better. And I know that some of you are probably dealing with this. So I married a man who, my husband, obviously, I married a man who grew up in a very traditional household, okay? His mom stayed home, and she took care of the house, and the house was spotless, and his dad went and he worked, and he provided for their family. His mom did babysit. She did that, as work, but she babysat inside of her home. Everything that my husband ever needed was taken care of, basically. Now, he was also raised to have a job at an early age. So by the age of 13, he was working a lot of hours. Actually had a real job that he was working. I grew up in a family where my immediate family, so in my household, my mom and dad, my mom worked outside of the home for most of my life. She didn't start working or staying home until I was probably a teenager. My mom was not the best housekeeper. But she did, she did do housework, and my dad helped her. So I grew up in a more modernized family where both spouses did work outside of the home and both spouses did work inside of the home. My dad to this day still does his own laundry. So he'll still do the dishes if, he sees it done. And so you have two totally different families. I don't think either of which is wrong, or either of which is perfectly right. And I think that's the beauty of the order that Christ sets before us. But when we talk about a wife of noble character, we're talking about her character. And I think that a lot of that doesn't really set with women. We look at all of the tasks that she was doing, but we forget that they're talking about her character. It starts with her character. And her character, Proverbs 31, wife of noble character, what is it? Her character is of a servant's heart. It is not selfish. It is the epitome of love in the Bible. Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not envy, love does not boast. It is not, self-righteous or self-loving. Her husband had full confidence in her because she laid down everything to serve her family. She put aside all of her needs and all of her wants and tended to her family first, and the affairs of her household were tended to first. And then, after that, she went about and she bought a field. She didn't ask her husband. He had full confidence that because she efficiently tended to their household, then she could be trusted with anything. She took her money that she planted the vineyard and produced off of this, or bought the field and produced off of this, and she planted a vineyard. It didn't say she went back to her husband and she asked him if she could plant a vineyard. She did it because he had full confidence that she knew what she was talking about, simply based on the fact that she tended to her family first. Her family was a priority. And it goes back to the order of Christ. When you are going through the order of Christ, you have your husband, your wife, your children. Your husband is your provider. Your wife can also be a provider, but she's tending to her household first. There has to be someone who raises these babies. There has to be someone who takes care of the household. And there's so much blessing. And when the order of Christ is established, there's so much freedom in him. Being a homemaker should not be oppressive to you. If it is oppressive to you, then it is your mindset. Or maybe you live in a household where your husband is constantly nagging you. See, I'm not done with my story yet. So, because I came from a household that was very modern, it was very much husband helped, wife helped. I was very excited about getting married. I got married when I was 18, so I was still pretty young. I was very excited about it. And I was going to take care of my household. I was going to take care of my man. But I also had a full-time job, as did he. We lived in a one-bedroom small apartment, a little tiny house, about 350 square foot big. And it was cute and cozy. But it wasn't the task of doing the housework and making the home. It was the character behind it that I severely lacked. And, okay, now my husband and I have both come a long way in life, okay? Mark used to be very angry a lot. He was very angry. Never physically angry. He just had character flaws. But I also had character flaws. Number one, I was not a wife of noble character. And indeed, it's something I'm still working on. I was young. I was immature. As was he. And we had a lot of growing up to do. As we've aged in our marriage, for him as a man, growing up in a very conservative Pentecostal church, they are very much taught conservative Pentecostal now. We've got other Pentecostals now that are not taught this thing. They're conservatively taught that the woman stays home and she's basically barefoot having babies and cleaning the house all day. And so because he came from that mindset of woman stays home, takes care of the household, has babies, house is pristine, that was the only part that they honed in on the wife of noble character. That she stayed home and she raised babies and she cleaned the house. So that oppressive mindset was placed on me, that even though I came from a more modern family, Christian family, still conservative, but more modernized, that was a really big weight on me. You know what I mean? I was suddenly, it's like throwing someone in water and telling them how to swim. Obviously, cleaning a house isn't rocket science, but for me, it wasn't about cleaning. It was about lack of character. I had no idea how to take care of a man, how to take care of a household. Nor did I want to. Why was it my responsibility to take care of this grown butt man? You know what I mean? And so, it was hard. But as we have gotten older and we've been married longer, we celebrated 11 years of marriage this month. It has grown into something much deeper than that. You guys have heard my story, my work from home story, how to stay home, and but I think what happened was my husband became a nagging husband, but I was partly to blame because I wasn't doing anything. I did not find joy in homemaking. I did not find joy in cleaning. I didn't find joy in making this house a home. It's a fixer-upper. It's been a fixer-upper for almost 9 years. It's very hard to take that and make a home out of it. But I realized that maybe it's not about my physical situation and my physical evidence of homemaking. Maybe it's actually the unseen evidence of noble character. Maybe it's the unseen evidence of finding joy in the things I've been blessed with. Maybe it's taking the mindset that homemaking and wifely duties are oppressive and something that should be demanded from a husband. And maybe it's something that should be nurtured and encouraged. And everything has kind of shifted. And it began with character. It didn't begin with my house getting clean. My house can still be a wreck. It's something that has to be maintained. It's not something that is attained. It has to be maintained. But over the past 6 weeks, 5 weeks, we're going into the 6th week now, I never told my husband I was doing this challenge. I think that he secretly watches my videos, but I didn't tell him I was doing this challenge. He has had more confidence, because it hasn't just been cleaning the house. It's been putting our family first in everything. He has shown more confidence in me in the past 5 weeks than in the whole 11 years of our marriage. Now, this began long before the Homestead Homemaking series began. It did. He has gradually realized, that I'm here. I'm trying. I'm striving to love on our family and tend to our family. I've been trying for a very long time. And something that I had to come to terms with was that apparently I'm a very career-minded woman. And that has been a hurdle for me. But what I'm realizing is that I can be noble in character and I can take care of my family. And the affairs of my household can be tended to, and then I can go and I can pursue things like a field and a vineyard or a book, writing a book, or going out and hanging out and not feeling guilty with the girls one day. You know what I mean? And I know that there are some women who are hearing this and they're like, you are insane to even worry about what your husband thinks about you or what, how dare he. That's not what it's like. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't want anybody to get that twisted. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. Her husband is also respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among elders of the land. And then, in verse 31, it ends with, let her works bring her praise at the city gate. I want you to think about that this week. If you're married, obviously if you're not married then, or you're widowed or divorced, this doesn't necessarily apply to you. But because the wife of noble character began with good character traits, she did not look, in fact, her husband didn't even necessarily look, it doesn't even say her house was spotless. It just says the affairs of her household were always looked after. She always put our family's needs first. The launching pad that we talked about in a video, that launching pad is always going to be dirty because somebody's launched into something new. She always had her family's goals and motives and happiness in mind. Once all of that was taken care of, and it's very much possible to do that in a routine. Obviously, this is something she did every single morning. She woke up every morning and did these things. Then she would set out about her day. So she must have had a lot of time in her day. She would set out about her day. She would buy the field. She would plant the vendor. She would hire servants to tend to the field for her. She would use that money, her money, it said, she would use her money to consider buying the linen for her beds and her clothing and all of that. And what a legacy to leave behind. What a legacy to leave behind for your children And what a testimony to share with all of the other women around her. And not only did she tend to her household, she cared for the poor. She had time and room and the ability to open her arms to the poor, which is another thing that we're commanded to do. And sometimes we're so overwhelmed and we eat the bread of idleness that if we had to open our door to the poor, we couldn't, because we'd be so overwhelmed and our house would be in such shambles that a poor person might not want to live here. You know? So I just want you to consider that this week. This is a 20-minute devotional, and but that's really what God has laid on my heart. Her husband had complete and total confidence in her, and I know that's completely biblical and spiritual, because in the past 5 weeks of tending to my household first and then doing the other things that I love to do, my husband has had complete and total full confidence in me. It's not just a story. It is a testimony. It is a testimony to how Christ works and how his household order works. And it does not have to be oppressive. There are so many women who have either learned that it's something oppressive or they don't understand the joy and the beauty in a servant's heart in your family. I'm not talking to men. Men have their own version of having a servant's heart. A man needs to talk to men about that, not women. I understand from a woman's perspective because I am one. I have those emotions and those feelings and those needs and wants. But it is true, and it is honest, and it is good and righteous and holy, and I have to share that with you this week because it is something that I am seeing very evident in my life. And as my character builds, and as God uses this series to build me in character and build you in character and teach me my own dirt spots in myself, and then taking me directly to Scripture to say, hey, the Proverbs 30 woman did this, or a wise woman does this, and a foolish woman does that. A wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one, with her own hands, tears it down. And you know how she does that? She does it by eating the bread of idleness, by not putting her family first or tending to her family, by not seeking seeing to the affairs of her household first before everything else, and by not putting God first in our life. She doesn't speak with righteousness. She doesn't speak with wisdom. She doesn't speak with kindness. She doesn't open her heart and her door to the needy. That is how a woman who is foolish tears her house down. So, if I have time, I'm going to put some video clips from last week at the end of this. It's already 24 minutes in. If you made it this far, thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you have not yet joined our Facebook group called Homestead Homemaking, please do. I will put a link below. Also, don't forget to check out Tangi the Caver's Wife and Farmer MEEMAW. They are also doing this Homestead Homemaking series, and they are doing a really good job. I'm so happy that they joined me on this journey. So, hope you enjoy your week. Have a great day, and happy homesteading and happy homemaking. Y'all, I have done gone and hurt myself during the Homestead Homemaking series. So in the time lapse towards the beginning, which would have been Monday, when I was cleaning the floor up and getting ready to mop, if you guys might have seen this in the Southern Mama's coffee break Thursday morning, but I had bent down towards my left side, and when I did, I felt this like roll, like something rolled. I thought that's either a rib or it's fat. I was just being honest with myself. But I think it was a rib, and I think I knocked my rib out of alignment. Today's Thursday, by the way, and it hurts. It really hurts. So I'm sorry, I touched it. I'm actually not going to be finishing out this week. I'm probably just going to be doing little things like folding laundry and things like that. I have not cleaned yet this morning, but I do want to show you what my house looks like when I haven't done a quick clean. So here's the living room. The living room has stayed mostly clean. phone conversation diverted. Now, let's talk about my kitchen. Okay, so I've got some dishes in the sink because I didn't clean up after breakfast. I don't have any in the drain board though. See, before this whole series started, I would have a drain board full and a kitchen sink full. Also, in my defense, our kitchen sink is extremely small. Those are pots and pans that are in there from dinner last night because I didn't do my quick clean last night either. But when you put like 4 pots and pans in my sink, it's overflowing because it's so short. I mean, my sink literally comes down to like right here, right below. It's really small. It's a really small sink. So there's that. I do have some stuff on the floor I need to take care of. I need to organize that mess right there. But my oven isn't dirty. This needs to be organized. And I need to go through my eggs. I have lots of eggs right now. My kitchen table has school stuff on it, so that's just something I need to clean up really quickly. That's pretty much it. I mean, I do have this. I need to figure out what to do with this. This is our dog area. Oh, that's right. I was going to move it downstairs, and I hurt myself, so I didn't think about moving it yet. So I'm going to do that. Maybe not today, but I might try it when my husband gets home. And then that'll free up this entire area. And I thought about maybe getting like a baker's rack to put here. Our goal with the kitchen, since you're following the Homestead Homemaking journey, and this is kind of part of homemaking, obviously you know, we have a fixer-upper kitchen, okay? Our kitchen basically needs to be gutted. Okay, so our goal here, I'm going to show you. Our goal is to take this gigantic refrigerator and we're going to change our pantry up. Okay, so here's our pantry. And what we're planning on doing is putting the refrigerator here, moving the pantry here, and putting a pocket door there. So here's the pantry and here's the refrigerator. That's going to free up this entire space that's right here where the refrigerator is. So then this can all be more cabinet space and more cabinet space above. And cabinet space is so needed in a small house. So let me show you from this side. So this is what the kitchen looks like right now. And so this would be gone. And then all of this would be an extra counter and cabinet space below and above. So that's the plan right now for the kitchen renovation. So it's just a matter of taking the time and the money and finances to do it. So I hope that we can do it soon. That's our next big project on the list, is to do the kitchen. The basement, I can show you the basement real quick. The basement isn't done. Your time lapse, you probably saw a time lapse of me doing we're going to the dark. The basement. Here's basement stairs. Here's drywall. That was just done a few weeks back. That needs to be finished. So I did clean this part up of the basement. Hello. So that stayed pretty clean. These floors are painted, so the biggest issue is the paint comes up. This other half of the basement, though, I had started picking up their little Lala. So this part of the basement is still in a little bit of disarray. I was going through and I was purging a lot of stuff and trying to organize things and get this space ready for the dogs. So my goal is to actually move this stuff that's not this, but this stuff right here. And then make this the dog habitat, will you? Where the food and the food bowls and stuff like that can go. So there's the clean side. There's Mr. Deer. Mark would be so proud if I showed you his 2 little deer, or big deer, excuse me. So this is week 5, and the reality is that the best part of all of this is that my house has been maintainable. My goal this week got thwarted by, sorry, I was fixing my barn quilt back here. By the way, this barn quilt and this little barn quilt and my reading material came from the Rustic mod, which is actually my sister. I will try to link her below. Set you down here. But so far in week 5, I've given myself some grace. I say that in every video, but giving yourself some grace is really big as a homemaker. And I especially have to give myself some grace this week because of my rib. But the house has been maintainable. My mom helped me on Monday. You can see up here about that. And that really helped me more than she knows, because it allowed me to really get and stay on top of things this week. So it's all about maintaining this week. And then next week, once my rib is back in check, I'm going to start purging some more. My goal next week for week 6 is to get this living room closet done and move the shoes either where they're supposed to be or downstairs into the basement. And then to finish moving the dogs down to the basement so that the upstairs is completely dog free. So hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you have not yet subscribed to Tangi the Caper's Wife, myself, and Farmer Meemaw, please do. We are posting videos all the time for the Homestead Homemaking series. And also special announcement, as we're going more into this, we're going to be doing more things homemaking related other than just cleaning. So cooking from scratch, homestead skills, different things that a lot of people are showing interest in that we're going to try and help you and show you how to do. So stay tuned for all of that in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, have a great weekend, and happy homesteading and happy homemaking.